Hi, and welcome to Off the Cuffs. I'm excited today to have with me Dr. Dixon from Elizabeth City State University. Doc, welcome to the show via Zoom.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Sheriff Kimbrough.
No, the pleasure's mine. It's good to see you again. Last time we met, I came down and you showed us your drone program. So listen, what we always do is that we like for our guests to tell us a little bit about yourself, tell us something about you. I know who you are. I know a little bit about you, but the people that are watching, that will be watching, and they won't have a clue. All they'll see is a beautiful young lady talking about the school. Tell us who you are and about yourself.
Definitely. So I have to start with the fact that I was born and raised in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So I am a Forsyth County. Definitely wanted to bring that to your attention. Graduated from Carver High School and 1993. And so I love to continue, of course, to cheer for the Yellow Jackets, but I am the chancellor at Elizabeth City State University, located in northeastern North Carolina, and it's really on the coast of North Carolina, about 30 minutes from Chesapeake, Virginia. So when you look at the UNC system, we are the farthest east in northeastern North Carolina. And at Elizabeth City State University, I've been here for 2.5 years and 2 years as permanent chancellor. And so I'm excited to be here, excited to lead this great university. But, as far as my ties to Winston-Salem, it was such an honor to be invited on your show because I know I have a lot of family and friends in Winston-Salem and in the listening area for your show. And so I'm very happy to be a part of this today.
No, we're actually excited to have you. I'll tell you because we got the invitation at the latter part of this year to come down there and see the drone program. I think you're only one of the schools in the UNC system that offer a degree in drone piloting.
Yes.
Right. And so when we came down there to see the program, I was excited to see what you were doing. And when I was told that you were the chancellor, I was like, wow. So, a lot of times, used to seeing men as chancellors.
That's right.
Against anyone, but to see, you as chancellor of Liberty City, I was glad to see that. So what's that like, chancelloring a university from a female perspective?
Right. So Elizabeth City State is a constituent institution of the University of North Carolina system. And I am the youngest chancellor currently leading one of the 17 institutions that comprise the UNC system. So for me, being the youngest, being a female, I mean, there are, a lot of things that I think about in regards to my journey in education as a professional. And there are, of course, obstacles that women face that I'm not necessarily sure men face the same types of obstacles, but one thing that helped me a lot was the fact that I had great mentors and great sponsors. And, I always like to make the distinction between a mentor and a sponsor. A mentor is someone who may look like me, may be a female, may be someone that I talk to on a professional level as well as a spiritual level. But a sponsor could be the opposite, could be a male, could be someone who is of a different race, someone who is at the table that often you don't see a lot of women being at the table. And so that person who's at the table waving your flag and being your champion in rooms that you necessarily can't walk into will definitely help on that journey. And so, I really give thanks to those who saw something in me that I'm not really sure I saw in myself initially in regards to being a chancellor, leading a great university at a very respectable system across the country. This is something that, I definitely feel is a blessing, and it's an opportunity for me to really show that I'm able to lead as a woman. And women, as we have seen just recently with our Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, that the glass ceiling has shattered. This is an opportunity for everyone to take notice of leadership that women bring and why it's so important to give women the same opportunity to lead.
Well, I'm glad you made that distinction between a mentor and a sponsor. That was an excellent explanation of that. But tell me something. So Carver, which is located off of Carver School Road, Elizabeth City, that's a long way, two distinct different worlds. So tell me, what was the ride like from Carver to Elizabeth City? In other words, where did you go to undergraduate at? How did you end up at Elizabeth City State University from Carver? How
Oh,
did you get there?
definitely. So I started at Carver. I am a product of public education in Forsyth County and Winston-Salem, and graduated from Carver High School in 1993. Loved my time at Carver High School. Definitely, I've gone back twice to be commencement speaker at their graduation, but I try to keep in touch. The principal at Carver High School, Carol Montague, is actually an alum of Elizabeth City State University. So I definitely, yes, definitely keep in touch with her. And we bring Carver, she was able this year to bring Carver students to visit campus. So that was really good. And this was before the pandemic, of course, but it was good for Carver students to see one of their alums leading a university as as I have here at ECSU. So I think that's been really good to see for the students to see. And we do have some Carver students here enrolled in Elizabeth City State University. So after I left Carver High School, I attended North Carolina State University for undergraduate. My undergraduate career, I finished North Carolina State in 3 years and then went to work in television. I actually thought television was going to be my career. I worked at WXII, so I came back to Winston-Salem and worked at WXII for a while, and then later left to go work for SMSI. It was a minority-owned marketing company owned by Sandra Jones and Lafayette Jones. And so they gave me an opportunity as an intern, and I worked there for a while and left and decided to go back to pursue my master's degree. And I went to UNC Greensboro for my master's degree. And there I was offered an opportunity to teach. So I taught at UNC Greensboro and went into some of the administrative opportunities that were presented to me at that time. That experience led me to want to do more in higher education administration, mainly around the policy side of higher education and how it operates. And in doing that, I decided, hey, in order for me to be able to develop and shape policy in higher ed, I need that doctorate. So I went back, pursued my doctorate, earned that in 3 years. So I graduated with my doctorate degree at the age of 28. And so I was able to do all of that within that time frame. And I started out teaching again back in the classroom. I taught for 4 years at North Carolina State University and had the opportunity to meet the chancellor at the time, who was a female at NC State. And I met her and I gave my elevator speech and she liked it. And she said, I have a position open in administration. I want you to come talk to me in 2 weeks. So I did that and the job was mine. And that's how I started my administrative career. So I worked a total of 8 years at NC State and then a total of 10 years at the UNC system. So I was hired by Erskine Bowles to serve as assistant vice president at the UNC system, which governs all 17 of the UNC campuses across the state of North Carolina and public campuses. And I worked for Erskine Bowles, and at the time, Harold Martin, who is now the chancellor at North Carolina A&T State University, was my boss because he was the senior vice president for academic affairs at the system office at the time. So I thank Harold for giving me the opportunity to advance in my career so that I was able to get a macro look at higher education across the system. And from what you understand about how the UNC system is comprised, we have 5 HBCUs and 1 minority serving institution, which is one that is historically Indian, Native American founded. And so that's UNC KIMBROUGH. And so being able to work with all 17 campuses was just a significant opportunity for me to look at higher education from a macro level, work with some dynamic chancellors and provosts, faculty and staff, student leaders who we worked with as well. And that experience in itself led to where I am today. So I was given this opportunity by former President Margaret Spellings to come to Elizabeth City State University at the time to look at some of the things that were happening here that weren't very favorable from the standpoint of the university facing many challenges. So I came here to work closely with the chancellor, who was currently here, on a task force to kind of look at where we are as an institution and where we want to go. A few months later, that former chancellor Thomas Conway, and we lost him this year. So I'm really sad about that, because he has been a good friend and mentor of mine for 20 years. But we did lose him this year. And so I came to work with him. He decided to retire, and I took over as interim chancellor, and later decided to take the position, or apply for the position rather, as permanent chancellor. And the reason I did that is because I saw ECSU as a jewel. Sometimes it's easy to look at things from afar. So I was looking at Elizabeth City State from afar, being in Chapel Hill for a number of years. But what really stood out is the fact that we had a secret in Northeastern North Carolina that people weren't talking about, and people didn't know the story about Elizabeth City State University. And when I came here, I made it a goal and a top priority to tell our story, to get as much visibility as we can, because we are a jewel here in North Carolina and in Northeastern North Carolina. We're offering, as you mentioned, Sheriff, aviation science, a 4-year degree in aviation science. You can't find that anywhere else in North Carolina. And we are excited to offer aviation science. And one of the programs within aviation science is the one you came to see in last year, and that was the Unmanned Aircraft Systems program, and that also known as drones. And we're excited to be the only university at this time offering that degree program as well. So when I say, Sheriff, when I started here, we had 2 aircraft that our students were flying. With this investment from the state of North Carolina, I now have 12 airplanes, and I just purchased 2 the last couple of weeks. So we're going to be up to 14 aircraft that we own as a university. Our students fly. Our students, the number of students in our program has increased significantly. The phone is ringing off the hook. We have about 127 students now in our flight program. So we're excited about that. And our drone program is just getting started, and people are understanding drone usage is the wave of the future in how we do things. And so I was really glad that you and your colleagues took time to come to Elizabeth City. I know it was a long drive, Sheriff.
It was. You should have sent one of them planes to get us.
Say it again, Sheriff.
You should have sent one of them planes to get us. Yeah, you saved us a lot of time. But I was listening to your story again, and I had already known of your story. It's impressive. It's a true testament that you can get anywhere from Forsyth County, anywhere in the world you want to go, anywhere you want to be.
Exactly.
Through hard work and education. You said a mouthful when you was talking about the university, UNCG, you talked about North Carolina State. And I was sitting here thinking, it's interesting that you said that. We have been having conversations about the unmanned aircraft, which also is a drone. We were talking about the usage of it. I was talking about you and the university to a group of people last week, one being from the FAA and another from another company around here. I won't advertise for them. But we were having a conversation about you all, about partnerships and doing some things, because it is so true. It is future. It's a future that is happening real soon. But you said something in it that kind of took me back to a thought. So when you talk about universities and educations, and you said it's a jewel, you said it's an HBC, you said so many things that a lot of folk going to hear it, going to not know what is an HBC. They're not going to know, what do you mean by that? How do you compare? And one thing I've always wanted to ask the question, all these colleges are in the same UNC system. How do you feel in terms of measuring up? Would you compare that to University of North Carolina at Greensboro or North Carolina State University? How do you compare those universities? You know, I've had the athletic director on from Wake Forest. I've had athletic director on from Mississippi State. And you know, I listen to the difference, and when they talk about the university, I hear what this university has and this university does not have. I know that Wake Forest is a private university. That's a whole nother conversation. But when I hear about universities that are all in the same UNC system, and I see such a stark difference, explain to me what that difference is and why is that?
Well, first I'll talk about the benefits. There are some benefits in being a part of a public university system. And for all of our universities, the fact that we're able to obtain support from our state as it pertains to our operations is something that is a benefit for public institutions compared to private. And so that's a great benefit, and also to be a part of a system with such a prestige reputation across the country. And the UNC system definitely has developed that and continues to maintain that. As I think about some of the challenges that we face, yes, there are some challenges from the standpoint of funding. You know, HBCUs have not historically been funded the same as some of our other sister institutions. And so there has always been this conversation around underfunding the HBCUs and smaller campuses and what that looks like. So what I'm happy to say, though, is because those conversations are still coming forward and still beginning to resurface, it's given us an opportunity to show that we are just as good in what we do. And with ECSU, the North Carolina legislature also invested in us from the standpoint of making us an NC Promise campus. So North Carolina Promise was a program that the North Carolina legislature put in place, led by Senator Berger, Senator Apodaca, and others who wanted to do something to invest in our institutions from the standpoint of offering access to an affordable education. So ECSU was chosen, one of three. It was us, UNC Pembroke, and Western Carolina. And if you think about geographically, we are the campuses that are border state campuses, so we're closer to other states. And so ECSU was the only HBCU chosen. And I think, you know, and I don't quote me on this, but I think a lot of it was because of the fact that they saw the jewel that was here at ECSU, but wanted to do something or put something in place to grow it. And what I mean by that is we have been able to offer in-state tuition at $500 share per semester. So we are offering tuition at $500 per semester for in-state students, and for out-of-state students, because we are a border campus bordering Virginia, we are offering tuition at $2,500 per semester at ECSU. So when you talk about access to an affordable education, a quality education at an affordable price, that's exactly what you're getting at NC Promise. So the North Carolina legislature has put in place NC Promise to continue on to 2025. So at least that gives us a time period to really measure the impact that this program has made on North Carolinians. And in thinking about it, so this is my third admission cycle. And in this pandemic, where you have heard many colleges and universities say that they did not see growth, if any, some saw declines, we grew 13%. ECSU grew 13% during this pandemic, this fall semester. So that is huge. It's huge because people are recognizing and understanding the value of a quality education from Elizabeth City State University, and they're understanding that this is affordable. I can do this. And one thing about NC Promise is it does not have an age requirement or age limit. This is for anybody who wants to come back and obtain their college degree they can come back as an NC Promise during this time period of NC Promise and get their quality education at that affordable price at $500 tuition per semester. So I say that to say, Sheriff, that's important because though we may not have seen such an investment in the past, we're seeing these investments now. And I mentioned, even with my aviation program, if it wasn't for the contributions of the North Carolina General Assembly towards my aviation program, I wouldn't have been able to grow my fleet from 2 airplanes to 12, and now an additional 2 to keep up with the growth that we are experiencing at ECSU in the aviation program. But also, it gives me opportunity to have more flexibility around the funding that I do have. So we've been doing beautification projects. We're about to build a lab, Sheriff, that's going to be outstanding. I can't wait for you to see it. But it's going to be a lab where we're going to train people to use drones. And this is going to be a huge lab. I can't even give you the dimensions of it, but it's going to be at least the length of a football field. And it's going to be able to, simulate different types of weather. So people can learn to navigate their drones in different types of weather, rain, wind, snow. It's going to be outstanding. And I'm excited for our students. I'm excited for our partners like you and your office to be able to take advantage of something like that. And so these investments have made all the difference. But to say that we've always received these types of investment, that's not the case. But I'm glad to see that we are receiving this type of attention for resources going forward. And of course, the more we grow, the more resources we get as well, because that's how public universities are funded in North Carolina. So there's a lot of good things happening now that I'm very optimistic that we are definitely going in the right direction.
I have to share this with you that when we came down there and I saw the program, I was not expecting to see what I saw. I was actually blown away with the drone program, unmanned aircraft that you got. I was blown away with that. But then I have to share this with you. So the young man that gave us a tour, I forget his name, Dr. I forget his name. But he took
Dr. Rawat?
Exactly. He took us over and he allowed me to get in the simulator.
Yes.
And, you didn't talk about the simulator you had. So we sat in the simulator where you can actually sit in the simulators as if you actually flying the plane. And so learning how to fly was something that was always on my bucket list. And so I want you to know that after leaving from down there in the simulator, I came back home and met some people. And I started flight school about almost 3 months ago now, about a little over 3 months ago. And so flying is one of my new passions in life now. And so I think that the more people see what you're doing, especially for young men and women, actually they see that program that you have, the aviation science degree. I wish it was some kind of way that we could actually do a Zoom where you showing the drones, you showing the simulator, to where people back home in Winston-Salem, young men and women, can see what the world right here in this state has to offer them. I think that's amazing because I'll never forget as a little boy working at the Ramada Hotel up off of Akron Drive when I was here. So my job was I drive the van and pick the pilots and the flight attendants up when they would come in, went up at Smith Reynolds. I'd bring them back to the Ramada right there across from Wendy's. Near Mountain Fried. They probably changed the name several times, whatever the hotel is, but it was the Ramada. And I'll never forget as a little boy, we would go back over to Smith Reynolds right there where the credit union is, where they had the simulator. And I used to stand there and watch them train pilots in the simulator. And, that was off limits for someone to go and sit in the simulator and watch. We talk in 1979, dating myself. But anyway, it kind of took me back down memory lane that when I came down to your institution, your university, that me standing in front of a simulator in 1979, actually, now I'm sitting in one. Your guy was showing me how to operate it and basically the real effects of flying. And so I think that when people see things in life and they're able to touch it, it gives them more defined way of obtaining that. And so I applaud you all for doing that. And you're actually the first university in North Carolina to have a aviation degree program now. So what does that look like? So if I had an aviation degree from Elizabeth City State, what would that allow me to do? What would I be trained in, areas I would be trained in?
So there are a few different things that we offer, a few different pathways within the aviation science degree. One is flight. And so when students complete the flight program, they're able to fly both private aircraft as well as commercial airlines. And so they're able to do that. We also have avionics, we have aviation management, we have air traffic control. So when you're landing on these commercial airlines, you may have an ECSU student, alum up in the air traffic control booth, making sure that you land properly and take off properly. And that really resonated with me. I was taking a flight. I was actually on a Delta airplane, and I was taking a flight out to somewhere, I can't even remember, to a conference. And one of our alums worked at Delta, and she came right up to me. She said, you're the chancellor of ECSU. That's my alma mater. And that really made me feel good because I was able to see myself in person, one of our alums who is now working for an airline and absolutely loving it. But we have alums who have now made it to captain of commercial airlines and other things that have happened. But those are some. And then lastly is unmanned aircraft systems, which is new. It just started in fall 19, and that's the drone program. And one thing I like about the drone program,
what would that cost, a 4-year program to do that?
4-year program for which one? For aviation
science.
For aviation science in general. Now, for a student who is living on campus, so when you look at room, board, and lodging, your tuition is about $14,000 a year.
Yeah, okay.
For a student who is, a distance ed or online student, then you're actually paying $500 per semester, and you're paying 2 mandatory fees that the Board of Governors put in place. So you're paying about $750 per semester to attend here. So when I say, say it again.
What's that a year? About what? A year.
About $1,400 a year, $1,500 a year.
So the reason I was asking you that, because I was doing some small calculations in my head while you were talking. So you know that it would cost you more to get your general aviation license than it would to get a 4-year degree. Did you know that?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So it's costing me. I probably go to school down there for a couple of years, for about 8 years, what it will cost me, what it's costing me to get a general aviation. And
yes.
That is truly a value to be able to get a degree at that price. Because
at this point,
about 10 grand, a little more than 10 grand to get general.
Right. At this point, no one can compete with our price point in aviation, or we're the lowest tuition in North Carolina. So that of course is a benefit to us as well. But you're right. I mean, it's a great.
If the person graduated, they would have the general aviation license. They'd be able to fly. What are you guys training on down there? Archers?
We're training on Cessnas. Yes, single engine and double engine. And actually, what I just purchased last week was a single engine and a brand new double engine. So that's typically what we're training on. Now, we do have other planes. I can't remember the exact kind that we have, but we do have other ones that we start the freshmen out with, because we actually let freshmen fly if they're ready to go up in the air. And so we take them through a process for evaluation for that, but they don't have to wait to their junior or senior year. They can start flying freshman year, and a lot of our freshmen do. Wow,
that's impressive. I've been training on an Archer for about 3 months now, and that's pretty impressive. You're on a single engine, And so I understand exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, but I've
Oh,
got,
I have it. I have it right here, Sheriff. We have 5 Cessnas, 172. We
okay.
have 2 Cessna Skyhawks,
You got a Skyhawk?
G1000. We have 1 twin engine Beechcraft Duchess. We
Wow.
have 1 complex aircraft Beechcraft Sierra. We have 1 Circus SR-22. We
That's
have a
serious.
Cessna
That's serious.
414 GC twin engine. And we also have a gyroplane. I forgot to mention that.
So you got a Cirrus? Wow.
Yes, yes, we have a Cirrus SR-22.
Wow. So the Cirrus, that's the one with the parachute in it. That's the one yeah, yeah. I've got to come back down there just to see that. So the
Yes,
Cirrus is on my wish list. So when I finish in about January, my wish list is to be able to afford a used one. Can't afford a new one, but I like to have me about a 2005 Cirrus. Uh,
yes,
it has the ballistic parachute in it as well. That's pretty
yes.
impressive for a university to have a fleet like that. I applaud you for that. Um,
Thank you.
definitely going to stay in touch with you because we're actually working on something here that in the area of law enforcement that are going to involve some things that you're talking about. And that's how your name, your university came up about a week or so ago. I was talking with some persons here in the county um, about you all having a program. And one of the things was that at some point, we would like to engage you in conversation about what we are working on here, which I think is going to be groundbreaking in terms of law enforcement and a lot of other things we're doing. But I want you to know that I've always enjoyed having conversation with you. You're doing an outstanding, phenomenal job down there at Elizabeth State University. Uh, Anything you want to say before we wrap it up? Because I want you to know that I have followed Elizabeth City for a long time. My son played at one same state, and I used to come down to the campus when they would play you guys in football and vice versa. I've always been impressed with what's going on, continually progressing. And now that they have somebody from the, as we say, the trade fold from college, the Jacket Nation, Yellow Jacket Nation,
Yes.
yeah, that even brings it home a lot closer. So I applaud you for what you're doing, and I'm definitely going to stay in touch with you. And I'm going to give you the last words.
Well, first, thank you so much, Sheriff Kimbrough, for inviting me onto your show. It's quite an honor to be able to talk about Elizabeth City State University and what we're doing. And it just makes me feel good to know that my hometown is standing behind us and pushing us forward and really advocating and being our champion out there. So I really do appreciate you and your team. Elizabeth City State University, we are building a foundation to sustain in the future. And I know that there's a lot happening right now. We're experiencing unprecedented times through this pandemic, but through it all, we will get through and we are pressing forward. And, the support that we get is significant because it hasn't always been there. And we greatly appreciate it. We don't take it for granted at all. We greatly appreciate all the support. And I do hope that you're able to come back and see us. We would love to give you flight lessons here, but we do hope that you're able to come back and see us. And I look forward to our partnership around drones because I do believe it's definitely the wave of the future and the present in which we see technology and how it can be used in a way that's efficient and effective. And so I'm excited about this role in leading Elizabeth City State University. And I thank all of your listeners and your viewers for your continued support of Elizabeth City State University.
I tell you what I'm going to do. So a part of the training is you have to do a cross-country flight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set that up with my instructor and see we fly down there and actually see your fleet and actually just come down there and visit and see exactly what you guys have. But I want to say something that it is truly a testament that you can get anywhere in this world from right here in Forsyth County. You being a product of the public school system, done a phenomenal job. And I say that because so many times in life, we always ask the question, can I get where I'm trying to get to from here? Mm-hmm. And in fact, you can get anywhere you can get to people from Winston-Salem are leaving indelible footprints all over this world, all over this country. And I say to you, and I say to all of you that are listening and watching, is that we live in one of the greatest states, one of the greatest counties on the planet. It's a true testament that you can get anywhere you want to with education, knowledge. Knowledge is key. I want to thank all of you for watching, all of you for listening. Until we talk again, this was Bobby Kimbrough with Dr. Dixon and Off the Cuffs. Have a great rest of your week, ma'am. And as always, love you, and I enjoyed seeing you again. Thank you.